Hello, and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Karen Stevens, and I'm your host for this evening. Before we introduce our guests, I'd like to introduce our panel. First, we have Miss Iris Wacker, actress, author, and producer of Spotlight on the Arts. Mr. Michael McKeever, playwright, media artist, and award-winning actor. And Mr. Bill Hirschman, arts journalist and chief critic of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. And tonight, our guest is Miss Ellen Wacker, who is the executive producer and creator of the theater company Pigs Do Fly. Welcome, Ellen. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
It's good to have you.
In such auspicious company.
Well, you know, we try. We do our best.
We're very specious.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes.
Yes, I did a play reading for you a couple of seasons ago, I think. And
yes, at Books and Books, and you were magnificent.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So tell us a little bit about Pigs Do Fly.
Pigs Do Fly was born in the latter part of 2013 when I got angry about something. Should I tell you?
Yes, please.
As if you're an actor, rejection is a way of life, and you age out, which I always objected to. So one day, through SAG, I'm a vice president of SAG-AFTRA, I was called to do a commercial of an older woman who worked out. I said, great, that has my name on it. I work out every day. And they wouldn't let me audition because I didn't look like I'm supposed to look. I got so mad, I said, I've had it, I'm done. And I said, you know, what the heck, if I can't get work, then I'm gonna do my own thing. And that was in 2013, and by August of that year, I had become an LLC, and that's what started Pigs Do Fly.
Why the name? Why that name?
Okay, that's very, I had worked with a woman in California who wrote a book a few years ago, and it was produced as a documentary about the silent woman in California. If you're over 40 in a movie, you were dead. So she said, maybe pigs are beginning to fly. She texted me, and I said, that's right, that's the name of it, Pigs Do Fly. It's making the statement. That's the name.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your artistic background.
It's not like yours, not nearly. I was always interested in being an actor, but I did not pursue it. I became a college professor, a lobbyist, but I always was interested in acting. So in the 80s, I met Iris. She was very scary. She had an acting class. Oh my God, she was so tough. Very tough. I took her acting class. I started acting on the side and got my SAG card. So I was doing it on the side because, you know, earning a living was always up there. Yeah. And once I worked for many years for Dade County as a lobbyist. Once I retired, I went into it full time. So I don't have the background that you all do, except I followed it. I became vice president of Screen Actors Guild, and actually I worked a lot behind the scenes in trying to lobby for funds for film and television.
We should back up 1 second and explain the point of Pigs Do Fly, that this is a troupe of, by, for people over 50 years old, that your target audience is older, the work is all, your actors are older, and your playwrights are all older, or the material is about being older.
All of the above. I think.
But that's what makes you unique.
The purpose of Pigs Do Fly is to have interesting people do interesting plays about life for the 100 million people that's over 50 in this country. There's 330 million Americans, of which 100 million are over 50. Less than 5% of all advertising dollars goes to us, And I wanted to make the statement that we're alive, we're well, we're doing interesting things. The actors are over 50. I don't know the ages of the playwrights, but I would imagine they are too. And the purpose is not only to employ, but to show people as we are today. And as I said in my last show, I said, no matter what you think about this presidential election, nobody is calling Donald and Hillary senior citizens on Medicare. They are living interesting lives, to say the least, and that's the purpose of it.
And they're over 50.
Well,
Over 50.
Well, I have to say that your programming too, both the short play festivals and the full length as well, they're about people over 50, but at the same time, they're not just people sitting in rockers. They're people
Exactly.
living very exciting lives, and the stories are very exciting stories. Why don't you talk about that, some of the programming that you've done?
well, that's not easy to find. When we put out the call originally in 2013, I just put my foot down. I said, no nursing home, no Alzheimer's, no dementia, no depression. Show a good number of people over 50 as they are today. And you'd be surprised how many people didn't read the call. But the ones that did started coming out, you did, started coming out with plays that exactly fit this bill. And actually, they reflect so much of the public. And so that's exactly how that is. It's hard to find because people are programmed. Just if you watch television today, you laugh. The commercials, come on. People over 50 aren't commercial unless they're doing Depends or Viagra, or medicine. It's true. It's true. And it's very hard to find. You get your upper echelon of actors who everybody knows their age, Robert Redford, 80, Jane Fonda, 78, and then everybody else doesn't exist.
What about your audience? Do they only people over 50 come?
No, as a matter of fact, it's been very diverse.
Oh, good.
Very diverse, and we did not know that starting out.
But I've never been to one of your opening weekends without there being basically a sold-out house. So your word of mouth must be very strong.
It can be. I can't say it is always, but we've done pretty well. We just switched to a new theater,
Right.
and I did something totally different this time. So we have to see. But once you go to a higher level, you can't go back. We did a full-length play, as you know.
One other thing I want to talk about when you were talking about over 50, which I was really impressed with, is that many of the short plays have to do with sex or sexuality and having a vibrant sex life after 50, talk a little about that.
A lot of those plays came through like that. We didn't ask for it. But maybe all the advertisements for Viagra and Cialis that you see on television. We really didn't ask for it. I think that the playwrights are so used to writing for dementia, depression, and Alzheimer's for people over 50, 60, 70, that it's something new for them too.
Interesting. Who would he get your funding?
From me.
Really? You are your own funder?
My own funder. We're looking to become, so I really had to be passionate about it. We're looking to become a 501c3 this year. I've been at LLC. IRS gives you 3 years. I'm very committed to the project, but it's been self-funded.
Wow.
Well, do you have a board yet, or is that something that's
I
gonna
don't
come
have
along?
to, but I will. I will have a
'cause
board.
they'll go out and get money for you.
But exactly. But it's not easy. But at least it'll open up the door to be able to take donations.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's a great endeavor to remind people that life doesn't end at 35, especially for us women, because like you said, once you hit a certain point, you're kind of looked over and devalued. So thanks The show's not over yet, but I just want to say thanks.
But it's so, to me, Bill and I were talking, it's so obvious when you have 100 million people. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And no matter what you try, you're not going to look at 50, 60, 70 as somebody that's 30, no matter what you do.
Sure.
And so, and people today are living longer, they're working longer, they're traveling, they're running for president. You know what I mean? You have heads of sports organizations all in their 70s, but it hasn't, I think the entertainment industry is behind. I do remember, I'm sure you've read it, Marilyn Monroe was considered over the hill at 36. They started to put the Vaseline or whatever on her, on the screen because she was considered old. And now, what? So times have changed, but the entertainment industry, in my opinion, is lagging behind.
Well, hopefully it'll catch up with everything else.
You said something, Ellen, though. You said you were rejected, was it for a commercial because you didn't look the part? Is that correct?
Yes.
But I mean, that's what commercials are. I mean, you have to look the part. Sometimes there's no dialogue, it's just a look. And
they have the look.
And you know, you took my class on how to, what do I say? You have to go in looking the part.
But they wouldn't let me audition.
Because you didn't look
I
it.
didn't have gray hair and I wasn't overweight.
Well, you weren't, then you weren't right for the role.
I understand that, but my point is that they were taking a woman over 50 in her 60s who worked out all the time.
Well,
And that had my name on it.
I
And
don't
I'm
want
saying,
the
but in their
audience.
narrow
I don't want the
view,
audience to misunderstand. You cannot expect to go into an audition for a commercial or a print job and without looking at. You've got to and you know, I've lost commercials because the director's mother-in-law, I looked like her. And the last thing I found this out from the casting director later on, the last thing he wanted was to have somebody in his commercial that looked like his mother-in-law.
Okay.
Well,
So-
you know, it's funny because what you really have is the stereotype that you're talking
Yes.
about. Is that they were casting a stereotype
Yes.
that had nothing to do with reality.
Yes.
And so I think that's the point that you've been making all along.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty valid. Not everybody who's 60 years old is gray-haired and overweight. You
But
know?
and they
I mean,
don't.
I understand that, but
Yeah, and
They're trying to break through that barrier of the stereotype.
yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about some of your past productions. What have you done? I mean, I love the last one I saw about Marjorie Rawlings,
You mean invasion of privacy?
Invasion of Privacy.
Thank you. That was our first leap, and it felt very natural to doing a full-length play. The writer, Larry Parr, had written a very funny bit, you loved it, called Politically Incorrect in the play before. And he said to me, I said, we're doing short plays. I have a full-length play, would you look at it? I did. I took to it right away. So did the PR lady, so did our readers. We took to it, and it was seamless. We didn't have any problem with it. And it made a statement, and we were very happy with it. Now we're not going back to short plays.
I was just going to say, does that end your short play
As of
festivals?
now, you never say never. As of now, yes. Because when you've done a full-length play, it just felt totally different. And as I started to say, I mean, we read 600 short plays in the first year. That's a lot. And I read every single one of them. The quality of the short plays with the requirement started getting harder and harder to find. So with that reality and getting this play, it made me realize that we have to go on from here.
Well, moving forward, as you find, looking for work to program, are you going to be looking for all new work, or will you be looking at some of the classics that are established and have a brand, a name, and a following that focus on older people? Or I shouldn't say older, but people over 50.
I'm open. I love new plays.
But you will do others as well.
Yes, I love cutting edge. I love to do a play where the actor or actress isn't compared to, who did
Sure.
it before.
Well, those of us who write plays applaud that choice.
But every actor in the play has to be over 50. What if they have a child, or you don't have
So
anything?
far,
You will not do any plays?
so far, no.
That's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. Again, you never say never, but so far I've been holding to that line.
Well, on Golden Pond slips through because the young woman is
Jane Fonda.
Jane Fonda was probably over 50 at the time.
Of course, there's that pesky 14-year-old who's in there, but there's
well, but you could have non-traditional casting.
Very non-traditional. And so how are the auditions? How is the public informed about auditioning?
Well, about auditioning?
Yeah, for your play, to be in your play.
Carol Cassie, our PR woman, is in charge of that. And we use the Theater League very widely, Theater League and Facebook, and I have a Pigs Do Fly website to advertise.
Say I want to do find some more about Pigs Do Fly. What's the website address?
The website,
Yes.
it'd be pigsdoflyproductions.com.
There you go.
What do you think that can be done to encourage writers to write more for that demographic?
That's interesting that you say so. A couple of years ago, actually it was in the summer of 2013, there was a short play festival in Chicago, and a playwright attended, and she emailed me back and said, the guy that was in charge of speaking, she said, our new horizon is for people over 50. And I don't know how much that's transpired yet, but that's the only way to do it. And then when we keep on we have 2 people looking for plays, and you keep on doing it, you're hoping somebody will take hold. It does take a long time to write a full-length play. So it is
Unless you're
a
Michael
conundrum.
McKeever.
That's why I'm looking at it.
That's for sure. Just as he's only done 25.
And that was this morning.
There you go. Oh, I love that. Great.
But it's interesting. You talk to producers down here, and they note that there are people in the audience to their shows that come, up until they go to maybe college. But once they get out of college into the work world, they have other demands on their time. They're raising children. But as soon as the children leave, about the 50 years old or 55 years old, all of a sudden they're looking for places to go for entertainment and places to spend their disposable income. And that's the group that they, as producers, are really trying to bring back into theater. They want young people in the theater, but they also instead of assuming that you have to be 65 or 70 to be interested in going to theater, they're now looking at 50 to 60 and going, these are people we want to start bringing back in. So do you see those people showing up in your audience?
Yes, I do see some. Interestingly, because I go to every single show, I always study the audience. I watch their faces. I see their reaction. And I myself did not know what to expect, but our audience has been 50, 60, 70 and younger too. So, like I said, being a tiny little company, we're hoping that word slowly gets out. Exactly what you just said, exactly. Some people say, well, theater is dead but it's not. It's hitting the group that you just spoke about and getting the word out.
No, please, go ahead. And the thing is, too, is that we've all heard it, 50 is the new 35, 70 is the new 50. It's funny because the cliches that you were talking about, the old ladies with the gray hair and all of that, that used to be what 60 was. That's certainly not what 60 is anymore.
It's interesting, checking your background. Criminology, that's what you taught?
Well, when I taught at Miami-Dade College, I taught several years of social science, which is government, anthropology, sociology, etc. And then at later date, I became an adjunct professor of criminology for Miami-Dade
Yes.
because they used my background in all the other things. It was fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
has that
no,
helped
it did
you
not
now?
transfer into Pigs Do Fly.
Ellen, how has that helped you, or has it helped you, I should say?
No, it didn't really transfer. It just was another level that I found fascinating. Just fascinating, going down to the federal courthouse, seeing real criminals, and working with the police. It was just another layer. I guess everything helps because you get much more comfortable speaking in public. And as a lobbyist, you get comfortable trying to convince people. That's what you do. So I spent 23 years as a lobbyist for transportation. That was my thing.
Wow.
And you just learn that you chase people, you're persistent. I once chased a legislator. I needed his vote almost into the men's room. His vote was very important. But I waited outside until he came out. You learn persistence.
And vice president of Screen Actors Guild, that's very prestigious.
Thank you. I've really loved that position. I did some work nationally with women over 50.
Yes, I know.
With now SAG-AFTRA, doing a national thing about women over 50 and how difficult. We had a call in, 300 women called in. Again, California, it's hard to deal with that subject. It's very hard to deal with the subject. But I love being vice president of SAG-AFTRA, and I've worked a lot actually trying to help with state legislation.
Is
Yes.
that the local, at the local
Yeah,
chapter,
Miami, I'm vice
chapter?
president of Miami Local of SAG-AFTRA.
Why is it hard? Why is it a tough subject to even raise on the West Coast in Hollywood?
Because there's such ageism. There's such ageism.
But there's so many people in SAG that are over 50. It
Okay,
would seem counter. I understand the youth desire for youth and beauty and illusion, but you sit down at a restaurant with all these actors and they're all older people. Why?
Probably, I think the statistic is about a third of SAG-AFTRA actors. It does reflect the American public. A third of American public's over 50. Ditto SAG. I'm not in California. It's so entrenched. It's just so entrenched. It's so difficult. Again, with this woman wrote the book 10 years ago, and it was the documentary that you die when you're over 40 as a woman.
Do they not believe that?
In our business.
Do they
Well, I'm
not
just saying
believe those people buy
in
tickets?
Theater and films and such. But we wouldn't like them to think there are many working attorneys and judges over 50 and they're doing fine. So it's selective.
It goes
the
back to
entertainment
entertainment.
industry.
Sure. Is there any headway being made on that front? I mean, is it getting better for women of a certain age?
Not unless you're famous.
I can't tell you for the upper echelon. I mean, like, really. You have, Meryl Streep, Susan Sarandon, Lily Tomlin, Sam Waterston, Martin Sheehan, Robert Redford. They're all in their late 60s and 70s, Helen Mirren, working like bandits. Mm-hmm. So years ago, they would have done that slow fade into, playing, somebody decrepit, but they're not. And that's what I'm hoping. But I haven't seen it transmit yet.
Yeah, and usually, if they're not that upper echelon, if you're 50 and over, you usually get character roles or roles that are.
What's wrong with that?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes those roles are very superficial. They're not really three-dimensional. They're caricatures. They're stereotypes.
We're the judge on Law and Order.
So you're not really. So your humanity is still compromised a bit. Even then you're working, but you're not really playing a full-fledged.
No, I've heard even the higher echelon complaining, really, that they don't finding a vehicle is very difficult as they age. So it's just the playwrights, they're not writing for us.
No, I don't. I think it's more than that. I think for some reason, yet, it's all about money. And the writers and producers have yet to see that over 50 is gold. The second that they do, they're going to be writing like crazy. They've yet to see over 50 is gold. And I do believe, and that's why I'm committed to Pigs Do Fly, because I think it is too. We got a lot of money. And it's a question of continuing to push it.
Yeah, well, I think it's great. I love the name of your theater. I did right from the very start. When will, people over 50 start getting really, really good acting roles and opportunities when pigs fly? I just love that. I love that.
Well, each one is doing their bit. You started something.
Yeah.
She started it, so maybe
It's
somebody
great.
else, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Has to start small, it'll
Yes.
grow.
So can you give your website again before we sign out?
www.pigsdoflyproductions.com.
And you perform in Fort Lauderdale. I'm in Wilton Manors, actually.
Yes.
We haven't even told people where to
yeah.
find you.
At the
yes.
Abyss Theater in Wilton Manors.
Yes,
Which
that's
is a
your new
great
home.
space, a
yes.
I
beautiful
love it.
space.
Yes. And thank you for joining us tonight. Please support Pigs Do Fly because, actors over, a certain age need that support and need that work. I want to thank our panelists today, Michael, Iris, and what's your name? Bill. And most especially our guest, Miss Ellen Wacker from Pigs Do Fly Productions. I'm Karen Stevens, your host. If you'd like to know what's going on in the South Florida area as far as the arts, please visit FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. And please, please visit us again here next week on Spotlight on the Arts.